All right, welcome to group 2 of 8 or more of addictions. Last week we spoke about what the word addiction itself can bring up for us. And this week we're supposed to be talking about the feeling about that addictions are about a feeling. And so I decided to do a little experiment on myself today. So how do you know you have addictions is that when it's not being met, you feel frustrated, angry, irritated, impatient, you roll your eyes, you get a little pissy. Every time you do those things, there's an addiction at play. So you have many opportunities during the day to connect to all of those. And for the longest time, I have felt that whenever I text on the phone, and you know, the spell check thing, I would get mad because it will correct my word without my asking it. Like I said, that's not what I meant to write. And then my son turned it off, and now it's even worse because I can't even spell. Like, what? That's not what I meant to spell. What is it? So, and the whole time I'm going, there's an addiction here or a few. And then I'm thinking, you know, why don't I look at that for the group? Because that'll be a brand new process, and I'm going to be doing it differently this time with the new ideas I have. So last night as I go to sleep, I'm thinking, you know, I think it's about looking stupid because I'm a good speller naturally, thank God, is one of those brains, and I'm proud of it. And I'm thinking, you know, it must be the intelligent thing. I don't want to look stupid. It must be about that. Yeah, I can feel it's about that. But no. Tomorrow morning, just go into it fresh, see what comes up. So this morning, I looked at the phone and I started yelling at it. Because that's what you have to do. You have to let yourself get frustrated, get impatient. Like, what do you want to say? So, and I shocked myself with what came out of my mouth. I was like, how can you not understand what I'm really trying to say? I'm like, what? What? Understood? And how can you not know what I really feel? How can you not understand that I'm a good person? How could you misunderstand what I'm really trying to say? Now that's a clue right there. It's like, oh, it's about being misunderstood. Wait a minute. And then I'm laughing because this past few months, the law of attraction coming at me repeatedly is that I'm being misunderstood. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a pretty typical law of attraction. And now it's the first time I've ever clued in that I even have a desire to be understood, to be felt, to be seen as a good person, that I'm sincere. How could you not know me? I thought you knew me. How could you, if you knew me, say that about me? These are all the feelings, which are all clues that I have demands on people, that they understand my good intention and they understand that I'm sincere. So even in the law of attraction, I didn't clue in. I felt the hurt, but I didn't clue in that these are addictions at play. So now I know the words. I have a desire to be understood and to be seen as who I really am, that I mean well. And if you really knew me, you would not say those things about me. You would not misunderstand me in that way. How could you? These are all suggestions, clear suggestions of addictions. And usually what I've done in the past is, because I'm embarrassed that I have addictions, I will go, okay, what's the fear? Let's go. Let's just get to the bottom of it. Because, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. People are going to find out I have this addiction. Let's go. And that is a sign that in my facade, I'm attacking the hurt child in which the addictions got created. Mm-hmm. So, and also I'm trying to skip a whole bunch of steps. So this time what I'm doing is I'm going to chase the feeling. You're looking for the feeling. So I desire to be understood. I desire for somebody to feel who I really am. So I'm going to chase the feeling, and I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to jump ahead and guess and jump into what's the fear, because under every addiction are fears. I'm just going to relax and chase it. I want to be understood. And at this point, it's intellectual because I don't even know that I'm looking for the feeling. So at this point, I'm just inviting it, going, oh, I desire to be understood. Say more. What's this feeling like? How do I find it? How am I doing this? Really sink in and just kind of let it get all big and embraced and really let it get big, 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 big. And then at some point when I start to feel, I'm going to then get to the place where I say to myself, and now you're going to have to give this up. And that's when the depression will hit. That's when the dark, broody emotion starts to happen. But at this point, it's too soon. I just have to go for chasing the feeling. So that's the next step in the addiction, now that I have very little judgments about addictions or about the child that has the addictions. So how's that landing for you guys? Questions or comments? Joe.
Because I am so blocked right at the moment, can you help me understand as far as chasing the feeling? Like, I'm not registering that right at the moment.
Okay, for sure. And
Yeah.
Vanessa, what was your question or comment?
I can answer that. um, is that okay that I answer
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're being brave. Proud of you.
So I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I was sober for 2. And
Oh, you got mute there, Vanessa. Where did you go? Oh, she disappeared. Oh, well, that's an interesting law of attraction right there. I hope she comes back. Come back. Okay, she'll click back in. So, okay, chasing the feeling. What do you usually do, Jill, when you know that you have an addiction? What do you tend to do?
Have a temper tantrum about it.
Yeah. What's the temper tantrum about?
That I have,
Yeah.
There's lots of addictions around that I have the right to have this demand.
Okay. That's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
The
justification. So I go through the justifications. It's more body wise. Like I'll go through the justification, and then I'll may stay there for a little while, and it may even go into the punishing part.
Yeah.
But what brings me into the awareness of the addiction is that my my arms and my upper body get really, really heavy. Okay. So like I've been carrying a sack of potatoes around for the last 50 years. I've been carrying a sack of potatoes around for too long. Okay. And that's when I know that I'm feeling through an addiction.
Okay.
So then I just, as soon as that awareness comes in, then I can kind of, I guess I can kind of feel through it, or the depression then sets.
You're trying to figure it out. You try to get to it, get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. And it's a lot of, it's, I do find that I do intellectualize it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
I try to find the words. I try to,
Yeah. And but when you fully embrace that beautiful feeling, like, oh, what a lovely feeling. I love this feeling. It feels like love. It feels like acceptance into the family. It feels like whatever the feelings are, when you can really fill it up. And then say, now you got to give it up. That's when you get to really get into the despair and the depression outcome. I'm just going to let Vanessa. You're back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. It disconnected me. So I'm on day 4 of being sober after 2 years and 5 months, actually. Yeah. And I was just chasing after that feeling because of the loss of my husband. It had taken over me, and I thought that would be the solution. So I kept thinking,
what was the feeling?
The feeling was I just want everything to feel better. I just want everything to feel better. And that'll just make me happy again. That'll make me happy again.
Perfect.
And I kept glamorizing it in my head that this was going to just fix all the problems, even though I knew it would just bring me back to where I was in the first place, which was a very, very, very dark place. And that's exactly what it did. And even as I was drinking again, I was like, this isn't even the same. It doesn't even feel the same, because I was no longer addicted to it anymore like I was before. Like I had a physical dependence before.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that the feeling of chasing like the addiction is, it's like being a slave. Like in your last one that I watched for YouTube, it's like you're a slave to this thing that doesn't even like, it exists, but it doesn't have a body or a mind. And you're addicted to this thing. And you're like, why am I like that? Like,
once you find the feeling you're searching for, and once you start to go for the feeling, the power is gone.
Yeah.
You start to actually feel a sense of choice. You actually start to feel the freedom. So that's why I'm saying, you want to know what the feeling is, and you want to go for it. You want to embrace the feeling. With the addiction, you have to emotionally own the addiction, because all addictions are emotion. And once you find the feeling, I want that feeling of everything is better and I'm happy again and all my problems are fixed. That's the feeling. Give it to me. Wake up, open up, and don't jump to, you're going to jump to going, oh, is this from here? And I'm getting this memory from childhood, and oh my God, everything makes sense, and which is great. It makes you feel like the world just opened up. But keep going for the feeling. I want this feeling that everything is better again. I really love this feeling. Let me really embrace this, how much I want it. And then like Jill, you're going to go, well, what's wrong with that? Well, why is that even a bad thing? I just want to feel everything's going to be better again. Or everything is better again. What the hell is wrong with that? So now you can start going into the justifications. What the hell is so wrong with this feeling? I just want to feel understood. What's the matter with that? It's such a mild little thing. Why is it even an addiction? And I know that at some point you're going to drop into how terrible the addiction is. But at this point, you're like, oh, come on. Not this one. Come on. Can this be just a little one, please? How bad is this going to get? So now you're in the rest of the emotion. But once you have the emotion tagged, you're free of it. You're free of the compulsion. You're just in the emotion. So it's very, very, So chase the feeling. You want to know exactly what that feeling is. And then you want it to become emotional. You want to feel it. And then you're going to start to feel neediness. Vanessa, you've done sobriety. You know that neediness, that feeling of I'm going to die if I don't get this. Because you've gone through it before, you actually have the resources on how to do it again with all the other addictions you're going to work through. Some of us who hadn't gone through that feeling of I'm going to die, I need this so bad, then when it hits you, you're like, how do you cope? So this is where I feel like I have deep respect for people who have done sobriety work with this harsh, strong physical addiction, because you've developed the know-how. You know what it's like, and you know you're going to survive. You've done it before. You know, you have faith. Yeah. And we'll let Bern answer, and then I think Jill and Lisa had some comments. So Bern, go ahead. Oh, you're mute. Sorry.
Thank you. The physical effect of feeling the feeling, sometimes it does feel like you're going to die. I've recently experienced even getting suddenly ill, like it could be a flu symptom, a fever, feeling like you're going to throw up, like suddenly ill. And you know it's not a virus that's just hit you. You get a sense that it's because you're in the thick of the black muck of the feeling.
That's right.
And it's at that point that I know I'm on the right track. If I really get a visceral, not just the feeling like tears, anger, but it's hitting me on a very physical level.
Yeah. Now, I don't know yet, and you know, being a doctor, I'm like, oh, what's going on there biochemically? I don't know yet why or what's going on physically in the process of detox. But emotionally, physically, I will feel like I'm crawling out of my skin. My bones are trying to crawl out of my skin, which is what I've heard about what it's like to work through strong physical addictions, dependencies. So yeah.
And I often find shame to be almost the worst. It just feels to me the shame of an addiction, the shame of the embarrassment, you know, really, I don't know if that's always a childhood. Is that always a childhood shame?
Good question.
Or is it just a shame that comes up?
From judgment.
From judgment, yeah.
I think there's healthy conscience going, ooh, you know, conscience coming up. I feel like telling you like, yeah, this is embarrassing. This is an addiction. Oh my God, what have I been doing? That's probably healthy. There's also probably judgments about it, which is why if you chase the feeling, you're actually going to start to go, oh, what? Like, I'm so desperate for this feeling. I understand why it drove the action. I get it. So you actually start having compassion quicker because you can feel the intensity of how much you want it, and it feels like oxygen. So then you start to go, how desperate was a child's situation that the child really wants this feeling. So then it starts to make you feel, I'm kind of wondering if I go into compassion quicker, if I can stay with the feeling instead of the consequence of your addiction, which will also come. But you're like, look at how desperately I want this feeling. Like, what was going on for the child? This is so, how am I going to judge a child that she just wants to be understood? Because being misunderstood brought severe consequences. So chase the feeling. So yeah, stay with it while you're also doing the shame and the, oh my God, what are the consequences and the law of compensation, and stay with the feeling.
And I found that those three things that you mentioned last, in the first meeting we had, this will never end, I will die from this, and I will go insane. I think you said once you're in that, you know that you're it's an addiction. Like, you know that I think that's when you're at the core of it, or
core of it, not just addiction. It could be any causal emotion. That's what Jesus have said, that he will get to one of those three, or all three, or 2 out of 3. That's where that, you know, this is what I've heard from everyone too when they start to speak about.
I think those are super helpful. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks.
It's full of gems. You just speak and speak and speak, and then you're like, you know, every word that just came out of you are all like gems and understood and synthesized, and it'll take us decades to understand.
Yeah. And the other comment quickly I have is that it's a part of the addiction that I'm so clear about now is that there's avenues where I look to have other people help me justify the addiction in some way, and insidious, like they're very small, that I'm catching them. And it's like, oh, I feel much better now. Oh yeah, it's really them, you know. Oh yeah, like it switches off, but then fortunately I'm going back into the feeling again and going, oh yeah, that's part of the addiction. There's just little tiny outs.
So we're going to talk about how we normalize addictions in society. Hopefully we get to that. And then I want to hear from Lisa, Jill, and then Vanessa.
My hand actually wasn't up, Harmil. Sorry, I move my hands a lot.
Please let me know. But do you have a comment? No?
No, I apologize for being late. My computer was having troubles.
Jill?
I think I've got it now. I think I had a follow-up question as far as chasing the feeling how good the addiction feels. That's Same kind of thing. Okay, so I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. No question.
Robin.
I was just wondering about the shame, if that is an addiction.
Ooh, good one.
Because I noticed, like, for a long time I would wake up in shame, and I kept saying, what am I ashamed about? What do I have to be ashamed about? I was just sleeping, you know. And then when I finally went, well, and just instead of like wanting to dismiss it, and the same thing with judgment, I think, like, as soon as we start judging ourselves, shame is like a judgment, and it's allowing us to dismiss that feeling, like, oh, that's a bad feeling. Don't go there. That's bad girl. Don't have that feeling. And then, when I finally got more curious about it, instead of judging it and shaming myself, that's when I made some headway. So.
And so what you discovered was that shame was an addiction?
Yeah, I think I was stuck in that cycle, you know, shaming, judging, and then you just get, oh, don't go there.
Yeah. And which is how we treat it as children. That the way to stop you from doing something is by shaming you. Yeah. And the way to stop you from feeling a certain emotion is to shame you and to be condescending towards you. So it sounds like if you feel shame, you gotta go, I'm gonna go there first.
Yeah.
Must be something good happening here. That's a really good. Yeah. Thank you. Judgment and shaming are definitely addictions. But then feeling shame because your conscience is going, yeah, here's what you've been doing, is also healthy, and you so kind of have to sort it out and get in there. And either way, like Robin said, be curious and figure out what the feeling is about. And Sandy.
Hi, Dharm. Touching on like the feeling that comes up with addiction, I noticed something recently that's kind of interesting, and I'm not sure what to make of it. So my thing is food. My addiction is food, and the feelings that I had previously observed about it were this feeling of like just reaching for things out of compulsion. Yeah. And it happens because I want comfort, because usually like I'm anxious and I want comfort. Okay. And then a lot of times I'm eating things that I know I shouldn't. So like guilt was a feeling. But a new one that came up recently that I noticed was I eat in fear. Yeah. I eat in fear. Like when I do it, it's fear and judgment. So I guess judgment / shame. I notice that I hide a lot of times when I'm eating. I want to hide. I don't want anybody to look at me because I'm scared that, you know, what they're gonna think of me, like consuming this food or a large quantity or something that I perceive I shouldn't be eating. No. So I'm always eating in fear, and I want to hide. And literally the feeling when I felt it, it was almost like somebody was like chasing me. And then I was like, so why then do I do this to myself? Because I don't have to put myself in that situation. Ooh, where
judge, stop.
But
stop. That's an addiction right there. Stop.
Is it a judgment?
I want you to feel that compulsion. Feel that compulsion right there. Like, ooh, okay. So, see how bad it feels? Like, no, but let me just, okay. It's what Robin just mentioned. There's a cycle. Under each addiction are huge fears. That is exactly how addiction got created, because you're trying to get away from fear. Now, what you do is because you want the feeling of comfort. You want it, and you still want it, and you feel justified. Remember, in our session last time, we talked about that thing you feel, but I'm entitled to this feeling. You owe me. I want this comfort. Oh, I just did the comfort thing. So why don't I just judge myself and shame myself for what I did? And now we're even. We're good. Off the hook. So that's the cycle you get stuck in. That's the punishment addiction cycle that, I mean, Vanessa, you know the cycle really well. Right? Because at least in the kind of alcohol language or the NA language, you know about the shame cycle and the guilt cycle. And then you're like, oh, I punished myself. I'm good now. I can go back and do it again because I still want the comfort. So drop the whole thing and just chase the feeling. I want comfort. What the hell is wrong with it? I like this feeling. It's love. It's all I ever lived for. If I take this away, I'm just going to go die. And this is when the suicidal stuff starts to happen. So chase the emotion. And then when you're chasing the emotion, you start to feel compassion for the child who had the addiction. And you start having compassion going, it's okay that I'm looking for comfort. So obviously addiction, I have to give it up. That sucks. But I'm looking for a feeling. It's okay. And then start to get curious about the fear. But the fear will come up anyway. Once you start to challenge the addiction, the fear is going to come big time. You're just going to be like shaking, like, the floor is going to fall from under your feet and all these other feelings will come up. There's all fears. And that's okay. And even you're raising your hand, I felt the demand coming from you. I was like, should I even answer? But that's okay. It's an opportunity to let the process come up. Like right now, I don't feel it anymore because we stopped you from engaging the addiction. Yeah. Is it getting clear? Listen to the recording and then try to follow. In fact, go and look up. We could all benefit from looking up what AA have discovered, what NA have discovered, like what they have discovered in the cycle of addiction apply to all of us. So that could be something to look at.
Thank you.
Woo! Okay. Other comments before we move on to the next piece?
So one more thing.
Yes.
A big part I think of, like just like my recent relapse that I had, was living in that self-pity, shame, like we said, and I wanted that comfort. And the biggest thing that is a big word too is deflecting. Deflecting it, and I'm not as bad as blank. Yeah. And then you try to tell yourself that, right? So I find the biggest thing that's gotten me through to this point to stay sober right now is being accountable and just owning it and saying, I messed up, I did it, and what can I do to move forward? And being honest with yourself is how you just keep moving forward. Like deflecting is a huge part of the cycle.
Yeah. And which takes us straight into the next topic I want to talk about, which is how we normalize addictions.
Right.
And that's exactly it. So, and which is what Bern was talking about, how you reach out to other people and to help you feel better about the addiction. This is okay, right? This is normal, right? I'm okay, right? And again, you're going, well, there's a feeling I'm chasing a feeling. What's the feeling I'm chasing now? What's the next fix I'm going for? When you start to ask every time, no, I'm looking for a feeling. This is a feeling. What's the feeling I'm looking for right now? You are having mastery over addictions because that's the right language. You're looking for a feeling with every addiction, no matter what. I'm going to take a quick break. I've been drinking a lot of water today, so I'm just going to pause everything for a minute.
Dharm, you're on mute. You're muted, Dharm.
I'm happily talking away. Thanks, Andy. So the next topic we should go into, talk about not being understood. Ooh, that's a good one. I should go in and have a tantrum about it after. So the next thing we can talk about is ways in which we normalize addictions, or were forced to normalize our parents' addictions when we were children. So let's come up with some of the things, and these are some of our own justification. What's wrong with wanting to be understood? What's wrong with seeking comfort? Isn't that a basic human need? And so what are some of the ways in which you're now observing how we normalize addictions? For example, Vanessa, what have you learned about how society normalized drinking?
I noticed that when I first got sober that it was just everywhere. It's on billboards, it's in movies, it's just everywhere. And it really made me realize how that was even triggering the initial thought of doing it, even if I didn't want to do it. Because when I grew up, I actually hated alcohol because of it running in my family. I was like, I'll never do that. I'll never do that. But then it was just everywhere. And I know that's not an excuse, but it just is so glamorized everywhere.
Glamorized. Oh, I like that. Okay, so you see two things now. It's encouraged. It's actually being encouraged, which made me go, why does society actually go out of their way to encourage drinking? What is it they're seeking? That if more people drink, what are they going to get? Besides money, other things going on that is being encouraged and even glamorized in order to really justify drinking. So Vanessa, it'll be very interesting for you to figure out to the bottom of it, why is society so hung up that we have to make sure everyone drink, and we're going to normalize it as much as possible. And it's not just money, because there are many ways you can make money. So that's really curious. So it's encouraged, it's glamorized. What else have you found, Vanessa?
No, I don't really have another comment on that. I'm trying to think of one. Is it okay if I get back? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good. Now, speaking of that, I like those two words, encouraged and glamorized. What other addictions have you found are also glamorized? Lisa.
Sex, sleeping around,
Oh.
getting the person, being sexually attractive. If you have lots of mates, lots of sexual partners.
Like lots of partners. Okay. And Joe?
Food. Food. Like how many cooking shows are out there, and how everybody posts pictures of, look at this gorgeous meal that I'm having on Facebook, and you know, all over our restaurants, you get these giant meals of or giant plates of food. Overeating, I guess, is maybe a better term for that, rather than just food.
She's in the food industry and it's a passion for food as well. So, okay, I'm really curious about that. That's actually a really good point. I didn't even think of that. Okay, food, Robin.
Sorry. I would say like trying to look your best, like working out, makeup, even operations, facelifts, all that is like
exactly
dyeing your hair constantly.
Exactly. We're being really encouraged to engage and maintain addictions, which then make you go, what's going on back there? So, okay, Burn. Oh, you mute.
Violence that's made to look like entertainment.
Oh, God, that.
Yeah.
I've finally gotten to the point of not being able to watch an action movie anymore. That's my addiction. I love action movies. I hate romance. Oh, God. Punishment. I would do it for punishment. We did that during one of our Zoom sessions. They're like, fine, I'll watch it for experiment's sake. So many addictions right there. So just beginning to go, oh, I don't think I can stand watching action movies anymore. Just getting there. Sandy, do you have some comments about what you have observed about the food industry and why is food being glamorized? And then judge for because you ate too much or you ate the wrong thing or whatever.
I mean, I feel like food is comfort, and it's something that you have to do. I mean, I feel like versus other addictions, you know, it's like you have to eat every day in order to survive. So it's a little bit different, you know. Yeah. So it's something, and it's something I think that appeals to everybody, because everybody, if you're a child, if you're an adult, like you have to eat to survive. And then the diversity of it is very beautiful, the diversity of food. And I mean, I don't know, it's something that I've actually been thinking about recently. It's kind of like this, I don't know, just the idea of food and the diversity of it and creation. look and see all the things that people have done with food. It's quite fascinating.
It's like you have there's a purity of your passion and desire with food, and then there's all this addiction that comes with it. So as you purify the addiction, then what will be left is just the pure stuff, which is the expression of your soul, which would be amazing. But it's really interesting how food can mask, like we can mask and hide our addiction and normalize everybody else's addiction through a very common behavior. And it's like vanity and beauty and makeup. On one hand, it hides all your addiction, but as you start to purify, you're going, but it's self-expression. So I want to express myself, and it happens to look a certain way that may include makeup or beautiful clothes or colors or accessories. And then you're like, it looks the same on the outside, but it's coming from a different place on the inside. One is self-expression, and one is seeking, whatever addictive feeling you're looking for from that.
And I had a bit of an emotional release a few days ago where actually I was angry about just that, what you explained, because I was like, God, like, I don't understand, like, how could you do this to me? It's like you gave me this like food addiction, but then that's how I express myself, and that's also how I experience freedom in a way. So like now what do I do? Because I'm like, the solution for me, and it's difficult, like if I'm around food, like that's what triggers like the wanting to eat it, the compulsiveness. And I'm like, I can't do what I love without being around food. So it's like, how do I balance this? Like,
well, it's like what I said to Vanessa. Once you find the feeling, I'm looking for comfort. That's the feeling. Once you find the feeling, the compulsion is gone. For me, I have alcohol in here in my dispensary because they're tinctures. I make tinctures, and all of my homeopathic remedies are in alcohol preservation. So to me, alcohol is how you preserve medicine. So I like alcohol because that's how I'm going to get my medicine. But it's a completely different, and also alcohol kills everything. So with COVID time, we're like, sanitize. There's alcohol everywhere. So it's the same thing, but different expression. And so so that's why I'm saying, chase the feeling. It's not the action, it's the feeling you're looking for. And once you're going, I'm looking for comfort, and many times, Sandy, you're gonna go, I want comfort and I'm gonna eat, and you do what you want with that. And that's okay. Doing it consciously. You're like, that's what I'm looking for, and I'm feeling justified, now I'm feeling rebellious, I'm gonna get out of my system without harming yourself or others. Some addictions like alcohol are going to harm others, are going to harm yourself, so please don't engage it. Some addictions you're like, I don't care, I'll take the hit, I'll take the penalty, because you just got to get that. But for some reason, for me, I'll get up the next morning going, okay, that's out of my system, fine, I'm over it now, let's get to work. So, and just some ideas we're playing out there.
But to break through, like if I know that the feeling is comfort, but I want to kind of like break through that, or like go to the next layer of that, so then what do I do? It's like, so how do I get over this addiction to like comfort?
So for me, I'm going, I have a demand to be understood. That's the feeling. So I'm just going to chase the feeling. I'm just going to go, I'm going to embrace this feeling that I want to be understood, and let it wake up and let it just become alive and strong emotionally. I want comfort with everything I have. I want it. It's love. It's, what a good feeling. So addiction at first feels good. Like, but what's wrong with it? So you kind of like embracing the feeling, going, but I love it. It feels like love, and just let it wake up and let it just feel like, you may even dance to it, going, but it's such a good feeling. I love it. It's like love songs about it, and really embrace the feeling for now. Just do that. Like, that's all I'm doing this week. That's all I'm going to talk about. I want to be understood. I'm going to chase the feeling. And then the next step will show up. We'll talk about it next week. Even identify. It's the feeling you're looking for. And then you start to get angry, but then how am I ever going to get comfort? And now I'm eating food, it doesn't even taste good because now I know it's a feeling, and if I take away the feeling, the food doesn't even mean anything. I've lost my one thing that would have ever given me anything. Now the tantrums begin. Self-pity begins. Anger begins. Got to go through all of those. But just one step at a time. It's the feeling. I'm always chasing a feeling. What's the feeling? Okay. Robin and then Brian.
I was wanting to talk about, Sandy was trying to say that everyone feels this way. Everyone uses food this way. Yeah. And having Lisa live with me, it's become quite obvious we don't use food the same way.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to cook. I don't want to have to spend any time. If I'm hungry, let me slap a sandwich, eat, let's go. Yeah. Lisa wants to cook. It wants to be, you know, so it made very obvious that everyone's not the same.
Okay. So. Thank you. Okay. And Bern?
Something you said, Dharm, about to Sandy about you know, understanding the feeling, going into it, and then, you know, perhaps finding a place where you're not in addiction and it's more in the creativity of it. Okay. So it got me thinking: is there a pure place? So, for example, with your understanding, wanting to be understood, it's like you have to peel away the addiction. I want it. I need it. To find where is that pure place. So is there, you know, I don't know what underneath I want to be understood. Like, what is just that pure place that's not addictive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a negotiation phase. This is where you're arguing for it. This is going, but there has to be, and you're like, you still want it. You're still arguing for it. So no, you haven't gone through it yet. Nope, you still, this is where you start to wiggle and squirm and, but someday I'll be able to drink a beer and it'll be fine because there'll be no unhealthy cases laughing your head off. Okay. It's like, because once you've done a few of these, you're negotiating for it. No, you're still in the addiction. You have to really break your heart and go, no, you can never have it again. It is never going to happen. There is no innocent little glass of beer. It's done. And when you break your heart like that, that's when you really hit that despair and that anger of I can never get what I want again. And then, and you're still arguing for it. And then what will happen is you will feel, I don't need to be understood. I'm okay. No one ever need to ever understand me again. I don't need it. But usually once you give it up, guess what you're going to try?
Yes.
You don't need it anymore. On top of it, it may even be your desire a gift to understand another, to give another the gift of being understood. That could be something that you actually have a gift and a passion to give to someone else. But you don't need it yourself. You're the giver of it. Maybe that's what it's going to end up being.
Right. Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah. So in a way, yeah.
Right, Vanessa, so, you know that. There's no such thing as there. No. I feel like no.
What I wanted to say too is like then when you say about any addiction, whatever your addiction is, you can never do that again.
Yeah.
For me, what happens is this little girl having a tantrum, screaming on the ground, goes, "How dare you?
Perfect.
How dare you say that?"
Perfect.
And then you go, "You just need a hug."
No, Vanessa, you need to keep tantruming. You want the tantrum. You want to embrace the tantrum. You actually join the little kid and go, "Let it out. Let me help you." You need to tantrum because you're activating the emotion, you're activating the justification, you're activating the anger. And if you're already feeling the little kid being angry, then you've already dropped under, because there's always, under the addiction is fear, and then you're going to find the child's rage, the child's anger that originated the addiction to begin with. So that you want. You find that, you're on your way through. And then once because your son is 5?
Yes.
Okay. You see him tantrum.
Yes.
This is drop into that deep grief. You've seen him a lot. Like lately when his uncles didn't come to visit, you give me an example. Sorry, I'm sharing. He was angry. Why didn't they come? How did it start? It started with the anger because it's hurt. And then as you kept allowing him to, he started to grieve. And what was he grieving about? Something else.
Yeah.
So you find that tantruming little kid, you go for it. You want it because that's one sign that you're breaking through.
Right.
Thank you. Somebody else, Sandy.
What if you have two addictions that are maybe in a way like opposing each other? So like a quick example, like food, and if I wanted to break through that, I feel like I may need to do some like restricting or saying like I will never eat sugar again, or you know, whatever it is. But then I have this like desire to kind of like just have this total freedom, like, and not have any type of like restriction. Like when I think about putting any restriction on myself,
That's just
so like, is it justification?
That's justification for addiction. I deserve and I'm entitled to have this freedom to do whatever I want, and I hate that I have to be restricted. It could be other addictions too, but
yeah,
justification. I want what I want, and I should get what I want. Is the addict motto. That's the flashing neon on the center of the forehead. Oh, you wouldn't be in the addiction. There's always that feeling of I should get what I want, no matter the cost, no matter what it does to me or others.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good one. I'm entitled to it. I'm entitled to it. I mean, we're in North America. Oh gosh, you know. Robin.
If I was gonna talk about that, I think when you own that you really do have free will, you can eat what you want and you can drink what you want, and no one's, you know, if you're an adult, no one's stopping you. So you can do that. It helps you get away from your rebellion. I mean, I don't know. That's opposite of what you're trying to get us to do, Dharm, but.
Yeah. Okay, I'm curious. Yeah. Okay, I'll think about that.
Okay.
I'll think about how that falls into it. Because I know when you're working through addiction, you have to find your justifications. And you have to allow the justification to be expressed. And a lot of the, like, my strong addictions for like power and justice, I had to find a justification. And only as I grieved and expressed a justification, I was able to then logically say, that is not a thing. Power is not a real thing. Superiority is not a real thing. Like, I felt like it helped me to work through something, but I'm curious. I'm gonna think about what you just said.
So maybe it's about letting yourself feel angry when you were told you couldn't do what you wanted.
Yeah.
But also then own, well, I can do what I want now. So why am I still rebelling? I don't know.
Oh, good one. Okay, let me think about that. I haven't explored that, so I can't say from experience what that is. Yeah.
Okay.
I just know that when I'm going for processing addiction now, I look for justification, because that's something you have to work through emotionally and release it. And it works. You feel lighter, you feel better, and you feel more rational after. You can see the lack of logic of what you felt justified about. Afterward, you're like, why did I ever think that ever made sense? That was ridiculous. So it works. But I'm curious about your perspective. Thank you. Lisa.
For me, I think part of it is I am so quick with some of my addictions to even judge it and judge myself that I don't even allow myself to get to the place where I'm in the tantrum. And for Robin, I feel like I'm sort of losing my train. I'm sorry. I feel like maybe spirits. She's already allowed her tantrum a lot and her free will expression a lot. And I haven't. Others of us have been more feeling like we're at the effect and we feel still under this other's authority. And so I think I've just needed to have more of the tantrum express, like the way you express it, Dharm, like just really go for it and just let myself, because I barely even get there a lot of times. And with Robin, maybe she's already done a lot of that and she's had her own, like, no, this is my will. No, I don't want to feel that feeling right now. And then she can move on because she knows that's her free will choice. So she's owning her own free will more.
But then she's also allowing the tantrum. And then once you get good at this, once you have released a lot of emotion, tantrum take 30 seconds.
Yes, and I think some of us maybe need more time to just really say, I don't want to, because we've been so suppressed in that area, perhaps.
I had one tantrum that took 10 months. 10 months. It was a very severe law of attraction. I was actually, my kidney infection was so bad that I was urinating blood. It was that severe. Like, it was like, something is coming, something is growing. Whatever it is, I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel it. It's like, at some point I just said the truth. I'd rather die than feel this thing, whatever this thing is, because that is what I'm choosing to do. And my doctor had said, you have 24 hours. If this doesn't get better, you go in the hospital, you need IV antibiotics. But I keep having this faith. Now, I am a doctor, so I can take this risk. But I had this feeling of like, I think I can figure this out. I think I can figure this out. And then I had a really bad dream. Obviously, my guides were literally telling me what it was, and I didn't hear it. But I had a dream that disturbed me, and the feeling was sexual shame. And then I went, wait a minute. Actually, I'm going to have to physically and emotionally remember all those years of sexual abuse and process it. And boy, I was livid. It took me 10 months or 8 months to process how angry I was that I'm going to have to do that. And it took as long as it did, and I burned through it as long as it did. And one day I woke up and I said, fine. Okay, God, let's do it. That's fine. Let's give me the memories. Let's go. Let's do this. So then I was free. I was lighter. Something was released, and I was like, okay, fine, let's get on with it. Yay! So yeah, it does take a while to work through some issues, and I can totally understand why I would have that much anger to work through about having to feel. And now that I'm working through the memories, I totally understand my tantrum. Yeah. And yeah, the thing about having processed some emotion, like, I don't remember that it took me 2 years to work through my block to feeling fear. I had to make a list of my blocks. I worked through one by one. I don't remember. Now I just start shaking before I know I'm shaking. I just process the fear, and out it goes. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've done the videos. You guys can watch it. Not a subject. So we're all going to have these places where we forget what the process was like. But
I didn't realize I had my hand up, but I do find myself, as we're in this conversation, keep looking for the right thing that goes along with my addiction. So let's just put it out there. So addicted to maybe control or of my sister, my mom, and it comes out around money.
Yeah.
And so it's my mom's money, and my, so
I'm just looking
like,
for the best interest.
like, like my mother asked me to, or asked for this, and she asked for transparency, and it's not happening. And so I'm like, okay, but ultimately everywhere I look, it's just this thick horror, as you said, I will look for legitimizing. We will look to legitimize it. And everywhere I look, I'm just getting the information that, no, that you have to completely let go of this, like absolutely 100%. And it will take me, I'm sure, months to do as well.
So this is where, once you activate the justification and you kind of go, no, this one is the right one. There is, for me, justice. My justification that I want justice, whatever that meant to me, took the longest time to work through. I even knew that this is no longer valid, and I've got to keep fighting this demon to be free of it. It was, once you find your justification, you're owning it emotionally, you're like, I do feel this is the right one.
Yeah.
Then you go, okay, fine. Tell me, why is this one wrong? Show me, convince me is what I do. Convince me that this is wrong. I'll think about it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the attitude I have. So then ask, why is this one wrong? Why is it wrong that I just want to look out for my mother, which is what she asked me to do, and yet a law of attraction is that her child is exploiting her for money. Well, why is that wrong? Show me. So now you are open to being corrected. Why that?
Great.
Why is that even an addiction? I'm just looking out for somebody. What do you mean that's an addiction? Which I intellectually know it is. Show me how this is wrong. So this is when you start to see the consequence of addiction, which is what I want to talk about next week, because this is where it starts to get really dark night of the soul. This is where it goes. Yeah. But let yourself really embrace your argument for it. You got to pull all those pieces out and feel them emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that you know you no longer have like a sneaky little cousin in the closet shouting and sneaking you and drawing you into temptation again. You want to find all those voices, and you want to let them have a voice at the table. Hear them out.
Yeah.
And then say, okay, God, what is your truth about this? Then all of it can get corrected.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
What other ways have you found yourself normalizing your addictions? Or using others to normalize your addictions? What are some examples you have? You see?
In my family, there was competition was normalized in comparison.
Okay.
In terms of like my parents really encouraging us to be the best, encouraging us to have the best marks, have, you know, everything all together, look perfect, all of those sorts of things.
And what do you feel the justifications were for allowing that, encouraging it?
You said they're justifications, right?
Yeah. We should be competitive. We should be being the best and trying to get better.
Yeah, I think they were slightly different for each of them. For my dad, it was about survival.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, don't we justify the worst of things, but my survival depends on it, so I'm allowed to do this. Ooh, yeah, that's a dark one globally. Okay.
And I think for my mom, in a way, it was survival, but it was also about status.
Okay. How else am I going to get status? And I want status, and I should get status. I'm owed status.
Yeah, and value as a woman.
Yeah.
Value as a mother. Value as you know, a mother to two girls.
Yeah. That's how you're going to get all those feelings. Yeah. So the actions are just actions, but the feeling that you're looking for, and normalizing that there's nothing wrong with those feelings. Okay, thank you. Robin?
Hanging out with people that agree with your addictions. Hanging
out with people. Look around at your group of friends.
Yeah.
And go, why am I hanging out with them?
Yeah.
Do you have some examples, Robin?
Oh, churches, like groups that do particular things, like running, or I don't know, volunteering could be an addiction.
Yeah. Bar.
Yeah, any particular group you want to hang out with.
Yeah. Which is why when you start challenging your addiction, you lose your friends. Because they normalize it. Lisa.
Also, don't forget the spirit friends that are hanging out with each of us. So, you know, I'm thinking, oh, well, I hang out with mostly people that are into divine truth. And then I'm like, oh, but you've been hanging out with those women that have been feeding a lot of your addictions. And now they're totally attacking me. But yeah, so that's a good sign. I'd rather be in attack than in agreement with this group now.
Good sign. You start to feel this harassment coming at you when you didn't even know you had this whole group of people around you to begin with. Until
exactly.
And so somebody like me who have a strong addiction for approval, I'm starting to get disapproval. Oh, back I go in line. So it's been a good addiction to soften to. But you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked a lot today about becoming sensitive to the feeling that you're seeking and really embracing what that feeling feels like. And then to start to look at how we normalize addictions, and also start to look at how you can look at other people and go, oh, look at how they're normalizing their addictions. And then start to get curious with, why is the society so hung up on normalizing, glamorizing, encouraging, incentive to make me engage that addiction? Like, what is going on there? I mean, I'm literally thinking to myself, going, I should actually investigate for myself. Why are we constantly being seduced to engage certain addictions? What's up with that? Is it to keep us numb so that we don't then feel our own emotions? Because then when you're being yourself, feeling your own emotion and expressing your own nature, in that place, you don't engage addictions. So you're not going to meet other people's addictions. So this could be a way of keeping you away from your true self, which is something that's been happening since childhood anyway. The whole purpose of childhood is your parents making sure you're not being who you really are. Because if you're being who you really are, you're not going to meet their addictions, and we have children for our addictions. We're looking for suppliers. That's what we're looking for. Like that Matrix movie, if you remember that scene of the Matrix movie where all the babies were being, were in tubes, and they were used as batteries, and they're being sucked dry. Do you remember that scene from the Matrix?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in the second one. It's like, yep, that's us. We're being used as batteries to supply other people's addictions. And then we are disconnected from our own self, so we don't have our own inner source of energy. So now we have to be in addiction with others to get those feelings, which are energies. So now we're all conditioned to become addicts and suppliers in order to survive, not knowing that there's this whole other world under here. And just like the Matrix, at first it will all look like ragged clothes, patches, everything is dark and gray. It is exactly what it's going to look like when you start to feel the hurt self and release all of those backed up emotions. And then, unlike the Matrix, there is something really lovely. Bern?
When you talk about addiction and being seduced at a societal level, and then we bring it down into our own personal life, I think right away I'm like curious, but also there's a fear. Well, what if addictions, let's say in society, like the whole world, we all come to terms with our addictions. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, what is left, you know? Okay. And I just think intuitively it must be love, but I don't know. Like, I really don't know.
Let's skip the fear. It's my favorite topic. Hold on.
Yeah, there's the fear. Exactly.
List the fears. Give me your fears. What are you
some will still power over.
Okay.
And some will say their addictions are gone, but they'll still be powering over others.
You know, addicts lie.
Okay. Yeah, addicts lie. Yeah, addicts lie.
Power over again. Okay. What else are your fears?
That there'll be no connection, being alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody there for me. People be completely self-centered.
Yeah. Okay.
I know. I feel like the life as I know it would disintegrate. Like it would just cave in on itself. Yeah.
Okay. So so in addiction, we can all fight for power. We can all fight for scraps of power. And there's only way I'm going to ever have any way of protecting myself or whatever it is. I let go of addiction. Everybody else is still going for power and now have power over me. What's going to happen to me? Mm-hmm. I would list all those fears and go for it. Going, there it is. Because as long as you don't want to process your fear, you have to go back into addictions. And this is that no man's land of like, I can engage addictions, but what's under it? Yeah, I don't know about that one either. So you're like back and forth and back and forth. And, you know, for me, I will say I'm staying in the no man's land for as long as it takes. I am going to stay in this place until I break.
Fear. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't want to feel fear, you will go into addictions. That is exactly what addictions are for. It's about getting away from the fear.
Fear. Yeah.
You have to embrace releasing fear because it's actually easy. Seriously, folks. Robin?
I think I'm afraid if all my addictions are gone, life won't be fun anymore.
Oh, good one. Yes.
You know.
Vanessa, that's a big justification for alcoholics. There'll be no.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's funny because I worked so hard in my like over 2 years of my sobriety that I became so happy that it was a choice to not want to do it anymore. Like I could walk by a liquor store and go, I don't want that. I'm actually happy again. Right. So it does come down to a choice, and then you do eventually find the happiness and the fun again. But what I also want to touch on too is that there's this other addiction with this obsession with everybody being happy, and how that is so, and people are like shamed for if they're sad or they're uncomfortable with it. So it's like, you better be happy all the time, like, and don't talk about your real feelings. Like, trying to get that out in proper words is not coming out right.
That's it. Yeah. Like why do I need to be always be feeling happy? But there is the feeling I did work through in confronting addiction, which is like, then how will I ever have fun? Is my life going to be all dreary and sad and gray and gloomy? Like, what? I'm not allowed to have fun like everybody else having fun. How am I ever going to have fun? I do remember working through that process emotionally of going, well, then I'll never have fun. I'll never have happiness again and all this stuff. It went with it. It was really good. I went through it. And now what's driving me is that my addiction hurts people, and I can't have that no matter the cost. So that's the desire that's growing. And also I am beginning to feel some small glimpses of my real nature, and it's so fulfilling. Like I feel so grateful that that's what God has given me. Those are qualities I get to have forever and ever. I get to be the keeper and expresser of those qualities. And whenever you find what your true self is, what your true personality is, as God has given you, you love it. You think it's the best thing you could have ever had, and you don't care what anybody else have. You love what you have. And you feel very grateful and honored that you get to have those qualities. And they're lovely, and they're enriching, and they're just, you feel rich, and you just want to give and give and give. So those tiny places where I felt the spark is like, oh man, I want more of this. So at some point, once you get through the no man's land, you start to get tiny glimpses of who you really are. Oh, you will fall in love with who you are. You will. You can't help it. And you'll feel very honored that you get to have those qualities. That in my addiction, I actually was condescending about those qualities. And now that it's waking up in me, I can't imagine anything else I want to be than that. But those are feelings you're going to feel as you go. Okay, Joe.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to that as you were talking about that one of my big fears is that if I let go of these addictions, that I will no longer be loved.
Bingo.
Even though it's a fake love.
Which is
right?
fundamental. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the origin of all addictions in childhood. That is, you weren't loved unless you met your parents' addictions. Unfortunately, that is what happened. So now you get to feel those grief that I will never be loved. Don't try to wiggle your way out of that one. Go, yeah, that is what it feels like. I will not be loved if I no longer have addictions. Go into the tantrum and the sad story and the sad songs. Go into it. That's good. Some of you are already touching some of the under stuff that comes up as you go. But I want to stay with the steps, and I'm using my own example of this intellectual knowing that I want the feeling to be understood. I just intellectually going, oh, I want to be understood. I don't even know I had this addiction. I've never even been aware of it. This is a complete darkness. Like, what? I have a what? So I'm going to invite the feeling to become conscious, and then I'm going to search for the feeling. I'm chasing the feeling now. What is this feeling? What does it feel like? Why do I want it? In a way of inviting it to come talk to me, not in a way of saying, where is this bugger? I'm gonna get rid of you. No, you want to invite it, and the fact that I'm in complete denial of this feeling, completely in denial that I even have this addiction, is where I'm starting with step one. So every time you get just a little pissy about something, ooh, big addiction right in there. You don't need the big stuff to come hit you with a barrel. Little stuff can give you a clue. Okay, I love this group. I'm enjoying myself. This is so much fun. So next week, I think we're gonna go into the cost of addiction, like what, the consequence of addiction, and how to work with connecting to that. But if we find some good stuff to talk about around chasing the feeling, I'm happy to continue with that next week. Any last words? Sonia, it's good to see you, Sonia.
Hi, Dharm. Good to see you too. Hi, everyone. I guess I just one last comment about what you were saying about societally, how our addictive state. What was the question exactly? Or
how we normalize addictions. How do we normalize?
Yeah. So I think we're all collectively in addiction right now, more so than ever, and that's on steroids. So I think, without acknowledging that, we're co-signing each other to not acknowledge the addiction that that we are all collectively in at the moment. And I think one of the ways that the marker for addiction for me is polarization. So, that black and white thinking. So either super up or super down. And in the middle, in that gray, is the feelings that you're talking about, getting to those feelings of really feeling like, what are the underlying feelings?
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I know that like working through my addictions has been about like the seesawing of polarization. And in society today, more so than ever, especially in the last 6 months, all we see, we're bombarded with like polarized issues. So I think like the biggest, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. I have rights to not wear a mask, or I don't, I do have rights to wear a mask, or Black Lives Matter, or All Lives Matter, or like keep your 6 feet, or I don't have to keep 6 feet. It's just, we're in this constant state of, I think, privilege and what that means.
Yeah.
In a society.
Grace, can you help with this one? Can you do your thing with what Sonia is talking about here? There's something here that I can't put my finger on it. If you have a clue, no. Because this is what the world is doing. This is what and it's a really good way, if you can feel into that, to go, well, what's going on for me? So there's something here, Sonia. Let me think about it, because there's something.
What I was wanted to say is essentially is within that is, I think we are all examining collectively privilege and where we sit in the world, and how we, have privileges, and all of us have them to some degree, more so than others. And, and so as human beings, as we move through the world. So I think where the tantruming is coming collectively right now and societally is how we have to examine the privileges we've held on to, and how the world is changing, and how those privileges are being taken away.
Great.
So
hold on, Sonia. We're going somewhere else with this here, but it'll really help you. Do you want to?
So I think this could be helpful, because it's been helpful for me. For me, sort of what I use now as a compass to help get to the feelings that I'm trying to avoid under my addictions is I like to say to myself, internal or external. So for example, with what you're talking about, with all the stuff going on in the world, and it's crazy. I agree. Pandemic and what's happening in America and Black Lives Matter and all this kind of thing. Like, that's all external, but they're all triggers for something that I need to be feeling internally. So it's like, okay, so for example, I watched the presidential debates the other day, and and all of that was happening externally, like, oh, you know, these grown men and they're arguing, and it's like, what's going on? It's chaos and blah blah blah. But what that made me feel was a sense of like doom and hopelessness, and like, oh my God, we're gonna walk into World War III and like everything. So I don't know if that's a good example, but
it is. And I think if I can just say, I think we're saying the same thing. So I don't feel like it. I think I think we're saying the same thing. Is what you just provided an example for exactly what it is that I'm saying, and that is like the doom you felt was connected to a sense of privilege or entitlement that the world should feel safe. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm saying that in every example, like in the debates, you know, we're all triggered up into our emotions, or, you know, in societal examples right now, or political examples. So what I'm saying is that it's not just, I think we all have this layer of that we've all gone through our own traumas, and we've all, you know, working through our addictions, but collectively and societally on top of it right now, there's a whole other layer of what we're collectively feeling.
No. So here's what I'm saying. You have a demand that the world changes.
Sorry? No, I'm not saying, Dharm, I'm not saying that this is mine. I'm saying that it's like a comment on what I'm observing. That's all it is.
I know.
And so it's essentially that I think we can all agree we're all collectively feeling this larger sense of like, you know, the world under us is different.
Sorry, Sonia, that's a demand. And if you can see that, and if you can follow that, you'll actually help change what's going on in the world. But you're gonna have to go internal. Those are your demands, and you have a lot of anger about it.
So what do you hear me saying, Dharm? Because I think we're not, I honestly think we're not hearing each other. What do you hear me saying? If I could ask you to clarify.
Right now, I feel like you're arguing with Dharm, which is showing that there's resistance coming up in you, Sonia.
But what do you hear me saying?
I know.
That's all I'm asking. What do you hear me saying?
Yeah.
Can someone answer that? Like, can you just read me back my comment? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. What I am offering, Sonia, is to sit with you and talk to you about it. I want to honor what's happening for you, and I want to respectfully put it all out and show you. Because in the past, no matter what you bring to me, Sonia, we always broke through. Do you agree?
Yeah, but I feel like we're having a genuinely and I find that, like, Lisa, to be like, that's a shame-based comment, I think, to say that I'm arguing, because I'm actually genuinely asking you if you could just explain to me what you heard me say.
I know.
I feel like you can disagree with what I'm saying absolutely all day long. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that what I'm saying doesn't have some validity, in the sense that we are all collectively feeling a collective addiction. And that's all my point is.
And what I want to help you see is that you can actually make a significant shift in it by seeing the demands you're making and the anger driving your comment. And I'm giving you a gift of saying, let's sit down as equals and let me show you what I'm saying. Because
how is it anger to make that comment, though? I'm confused. Is it because it makes people uncomfortable, or is it because what is the anger driving it? Please, I'm genuinely asking for you to explain it.
I know, but you're also demanding that I explain it, and I'm respecting my time and everybody's time, and I'm saying, I want to help you work through this. Let's talk, but not now.
Okay.
Setting my boundaries. Thank you. Casey.
I just wanted to add in, I also struggle with this and have been doing so, particularly around, I'm a mask wearer, and I have been feeling for a long time leading up to the addictions about people should be wearing their masks and da-da-da, and don't they know why? And I've just in the last few weeks, having done some traveling to quieter pockets in BC, realized that it is a huge demand that I have on everybody. I'm super angry. I haven't broken to the underneath piece, but I got a really great reflection in a dream from one of my guides that I'm encroaching on the other people's free will.
Yeah.
Actually demanding against their free will, which is where my anger was coming from. So I'm not sure what the emotion is underneath it. I'm going to chase that feeling, but I feel the anger, and it's like, for me, it was almost at the point of rage.
And at first you're going, what anger? What? Who? I feel justified, I feel logical, I feel rational, but I do have done a lot of this work, and I can feel people's feelings, and I go, whoa, look what just happened there. And I want to value, Sonia, that you're working through this will actually help you be significant in contributing to it, but I'm not going to do it now. And I'm happy to provide a time for us to sit and work it out so you can see. And saying that, I would like to end our workshop today, and we'll continue next week.
Thanks.